Hello, my friend. Welcome again to Stack Dollar. I am your host RJ, and this time I just want to show you something that I came across just yesterday or day before yesterday, and that is, if you remember, in the previous one we talked about the number of millionaires has skyrocketed, and then we also talked about the household debt that is risen by almost 184 billion. So we were thinking like how do we control our own finances, if you remember. And then when we went through the experience study and a few other things, that our formula is very simple: measure, manage, and multiply. So all of these, now I came across, let me just go to that slide quickly, and that is right here. So this where is it? Right here, this one. So there is a website called Money Wise, and I think it's a blog site. So look at the title. Over a third of Americans earning 200,000 a year or more say they are living paycheck to paycheck. Here is why. Now just this headline, right? Think about the headline. People think that earning 100,000 is a good number. I mean, nowadays it may not be that much with the inflation number rising, but 200,000 is still a good number. I mean, American average salary is, I think, maybe 50,000 or something like that, 60,000 something. So obviously 200,000 is much above the average salary. However, it is interesting to note that they are all living paycheck to paycheck. Now, of course, you can go and find this article, but I have just gathered the highlights of this particular blog post, and it says more money, more problems. What does it mean? So around 22% of high income earners reported family expenses as the main reason they live paycheck to paycheck, while 15% cite non-essential spending as their primary pain point. Now, why it is like this, and I didn't go into details. So one of the major issues with high income earners is expenses, and that's where that our manage part will help us. So we'll when we do that exercise, we'll see. The next point is less pressure to save for emergencies. The problem may also stem from improper budgeting. So this is important aspect, budgeting, and lifestyle creep. The report shows high earners are more likely to spend on things like clothing, fitness, social activities. Of course, they would think that they have money and they will spend on these things. But as you can see, they ultimately end up living paycheck to paycheck and not having enough savings, and not having enough plan for the later years. So now budgeting, I will tell you, budgeting I'm not a fan of. It's not a great thing to do, but at least we should have an idea, and that's where our measure thing will apply, that what should be our range. And sometimes you may go a little bit over this versus under that, so that should balance it out. But it still makes a point that without measuring, without having the right mindset, it will be a challenge. And the last point here, it says why it is so important to save. Again, when we manage, we will be able to have some savings, because if you live paycheck to paycheck, think about it, there is nothing saved. If you don't have anything saved, now you have nothing to multiply to, because you already spent everything. So that's why our formula, which is very simple, and I'm trying to hammer this out so that we all are on the same page, that unless we understand what are we getting and what are we spending, we won't be able to manage it. Once we manage it, we know how much we should put aside, and that amount that is savings, that should help us multiply it. And that is what we are planning in the long term. These people, even doesn't matter 200,000 or 2 million, right? If you are spending the same amount as much as you are getting, or even more, which is even worse, then you are no better than somebody making 50,000 and spending 50,000. So it's the same thing. You might think you have a great lifestyle, but the longer term vision is not there in either case. Okay, so let's cover the last point, why it is so important to save. One of the biggest hurdles high earners say is blocking them from consistent saving is unexpected expenses, as well as one-time or unusually large expenses. So obviously they are not budgeting, they are just ad hoc basis they are spending. So sometimes it could be a large purchase, sometimes unexpected expense. So they don't have it planned. How much should I spend on this? How much should I put aside for that? and suddenly now they end up with living paycheck to paycheck. And the last point it says is having an emergency fund is key to preparing for these costs and keeping you from relying on the next paycheck to make ends meet. Experts generally recommend setting aside 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. So there you go, my friend. I highly recommend you keep these points in mind. Now you might say, like, what is the next step? Well, before we go there, remember in the last video we talked about mindset. And since mindset is such an important aspect of all these manage, measure and multiply points together, that I don't want to just do the mechanical job of, okay, here is a worksheet, let's fill it out. How much is our income? How much is our expenditure? What is our estimate for budgeting? How much do we want to put aside for investment, retirement, whatnot? Those things can be done, and there are tons of things you will find. Even there are standard worksheets available, I guess. You can use it, and we will also have it. I'm going to provide it. But my point is, those things are immaterial if you do not have the vision about it. And that's why I'm trying to make that clear with these videos, that we understand. And by the way, I'm telling you because I am going through it, I have gone through it, and I know how much important it is. I did ignore these parts, and I want to make sure that, my friend, you don't do that. You don't skip these steps. You don't move away from that focus, from that vision that you should have. That will help not only you for the longer term, but for your family, from your larger generations. So these are very, very important things. As I said, we are not just talking, hey, what movie you watched yesterday type discussion. These are very important, and please take it seriously. So again, I'm going to show you the next point which we had discussed last time again, and that is we need to commit to ourselves. So here is a simple commitment contract I have created, which I showed you in the last video, but I want to read to show you again. And it is a very simple thing. Take a piece of paper. Look, action is very, very important. I can talk about all these things for hours and hours, but if you and me don't put pen to the paper and rubber meets the road is not happening, then these are all useless talks. I mean, we will just talk about it, liked about it, and we be done with it. That is not what I would like to do. So I want to encourage you to follow through all what we discuss, and then what is the relevant thing. So in this case, it is a very simple exercise. You just need to take a piece of paper, write it down, and I would highly recommend don't use your computer. It has to be handwritten thing. Take a paper, write it, I commit to, and then last time I gave you some sample goals. Just say I commit to whatever your goal is, to save certain things, to earn some amount, to put aside this much. I want to whatever your goal is, and then put some time frame, so that in the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, you want to have. That's why you have a vision. And then this is very important too. Put the reason behind it, why, and put it down on the paper. My goal will help me to. Who you will help using this goal? Maybe you have a goal to make $100,000, in the next 6 months or this year. What will you do with it? $1 million in whatever time frame. What will you do with it? Why do you want it? Unless you have the right reason, again, I'm going back to the previous video where we talked about how our mind tricks us, and unless you have the right reason behind the goal, we won't fulfill it. We won't commit to it. So that's why this is important. You want to say, my goal will help me to help my children get better education, help serve the community better, help my parents with their health, some tangible or non-tangible, either way, but very, very motivating reason should be here. That takes you out of the equation, puts somebody else in the picture, and that's where your focus will be. That's where your mind will be focused. Like, no, I need to do this for them. If you say, oh, so that I do this, you will lose your enthusiasm. Your motivation will be fizzled, and you will not follow through. So, my friend, please do this. Avoid vague things like make me happy and things like that. Don't do that. Just put something concrete. And then I hereby commit myself to my goal mentioned above, to do everything in my capacity and comply with the general rules without compromise. Obviously, we are not planning to do any shortcuts. We are not playing any gimmicks. We are not going to, do anything that is that is not ethical, legal, and we are not talking about those type of things. So obviously this is very clear. And then at the end you should say, I understand that I am responsible for my life and only I have the power to change my life. This is another thing you have to always keep in mind, but that's why I'm saying that we should write it down. This is what I did, and my brain starts working differently, even though I know what it is. But when I write it, it is totally different ball game. I'll not blame anyone for my situation or condition that I'm in or I will be in. That's it. Please sign it, date it. If you know somebody who is going to help you out, have a friend or spouse or somebody, have them also sign as a witness. That way you know that you are committed. My friend, commitment is the key to this journey that we are going to have, the financial abundance we are going to talk about. That it is possible. There are lots of things, no matter where you are in your financial journey. Maybe you are just starting out, maybe you are in the midway of your life, maybe you have good savings, maybe you don't. Doesn't matter. You need to have all these things. This will cover. You always should have a financial goal no matter what, right? And I'm sure you would have it no matter where you are. So hopefully this will take care of it. Okay, I don't want to make a too long a video today, but in the next one we will start focusing on a little bit of real concrete steps. But I wanted to hammer this point again, that there are people who do not focus properly on the financial management aspect, and they end up living paycheck to paycheck, having too much debt, things like that. And why I can say this, it is like why smart people fail doing certain things. I am one of those. I can tell you, I thought I know about all this, and I came across something that I fell flat on my face. And that's why I'm trying to tell you that please learn from my lesson. I'm trying to see how best I can convey this message. So that's all. Thank you so much again for joining, and if you do like it, please subscribe, please convey, please like it, please pass it to your friends, and we'll start this financial managing our own life depends on this, and then the happiness aspect is what we are going to talk about later, so we'll come to that also. Thank you so much and have a great one. Bye.